I was told it's 3:30, and I could just come up here and call you all to order, so here I am. I think you all know me, but in case somebody doesn't, I'm Sister Mary Beth Ginoli. I'm a sister of St. Francis from Oldenburg, Indiana. And I currently serve as Vice President for Mission Integration and Sponsorship here at Marian. This year is a big year for us as a congregation and for us as a university. 175 years ago, on January 6th, Teresa Hackelmeier, 24-year-old woman from Vienna, Austria, came to Oldenburg, Indiana with the goal, the mission, the charge of teaching the children of the German immigrants who were settled in that area. Some of you have been to Oldenburg, some of you probably haven't, but today, 2026, Oldenburg is a village. It's tiny, it's 3 streets by 3 streets. So in 1851, it was literally probably not even a dot on a map. So we're talking very, very rustic, very rural. But Teresa came because she felt called to this ministry to teach the children of the German immigrants. And she was met by 3 young women who were going to join her to form the community, and they were going to teach the children of the German immigrants. And she realized very quickly that those women didn't know how to teach. Oops, that wasn't a requirement for them to come. So she had to teach them how to teach so that they could then teach the children of the German immigrants. And that's where Marian traces her roots, back to Oldenburg, 1851, as a way to teach women how to teach. A lot has happened since then, obviously. A lot has happened since 2018 when I came back to Marian. And I'm sure Mother Teresa is looking down on all of this with a lot of joy and excitement because we are fulfilling her dream in many ways. We are continuing to teach people, no longer children of the German immigrants, but teach people how to be of service to the world. And that's, I think, what her vision was. That's why she came, because she believed that she could make a difference in the lives of the people that she was serving. So I've used this before, but for our prayer today, I'm going to use an adaptation of the epilogue to the Constitution of my congregation. I don't know if you know, but religious communities have constitutions much like countries. It's a very big deal. Our Constitution has to be approved by Rome. So it's not something that we can just go and say, I don't like page 6, I'm just going to tear it out of my book. We're not going to use that anymore. We can't do that. It all has to be intact and it has to be approved by Rome. The epilogue talks about how from where we have come and how we are going to continue in our ministry. And I think that applies not just to us as a community, a congregation, but to all of us as the Marian University community. So I offer this as a prayer for and with you. So knowing that we are in the presence of God, and God is always in our presence, let us pray. Blessed in our heritage, the gospel of Jesus, the ideals of Francis and Clare, the example of Mother Teresa Hackelmeier. Rich in our traditions, faith to dare, hope to seek, love to endure, courage to venture. Challenged in our future by the needs of all people, by the suffering of our world, by the love of our Creator. We rededicate ourselves as we venture on, with courage, with hope, with simplicity, with openness, with joy. Amen. It is now my privilege to introduce Dan Elsener. Speaking of courage to venture, speaking of faith and commitment, it's Dan.
Thank you, Sister. Thank you, Sister, and thanks everybody that's here. And We do stream this to our other locations, so welcome to all you folks as well. We're going to review where we're at today, but I wanted to take I'm going to pick up a little sister, but before I do, the last few days I check in with Craig Cook and see how the shoveling of snow is going in sub-zero weather. And we all enjoy the ability to come on campus. Walks are cleared, driveways are open. What you don't know, you probably know, but I want to take a moment just to somehow express my appreciation. I'm sure you share. Our people get here at 5 a.m. in the morning. It is freezing cold. If you're like me, you're barely awake at 5 a.m. You start to roll out, but the bed's warm. About the time I've had coffee and a little breakfast, they've already worked an hour and a half in 4-degree weather shoveling snow, and we owe our maintenance and grounds crew a big round of applause. I committed to do this the other night when I checked in with Craig late in the day. He said, I just sent the guys home, and they'll be back here at 5 a.m. And I was thinking, I have my fireplace on, and they're just probably thawing out. So I'm glad you appreciate them. And I wanted to say something else. Some of you know I like to listen and read important speeches historically. And I read one by Richard Lugar about what a great nation is. And I was thinking, I often talk about being a great Catholic university. A great we say it all the time. By the way, this is long before that MAGA thing and all, but we, as we think about a great university, a great Catholic university, I was reading a speech by Richard Lugar about a great nation, and I used some of his phraseology in this, but I wrote a little, what does it mean? And basically I believe this: those universities that don't aspire to a higher ideal lose their claim to greatness. Our presentation today is about high ideals and commitment and where we're going. Marian University has been a powerful force for good, advancing human flourishing. But even more importantly, it has been a heroic university. We're involved in heroic endeavors. Our greatest moments, the moments that have defined this university's character and propelled us and our society that we serve forward, have been those moments when we have sacrificed something to do more than just what was in our self-interest. That's really our storyline. Last semester, last 10 years, last 175 years. Mother Teresa arrived this very month 175 years ago. She got off the Ohio River, went on this stagecoach, showed up in Oldenburg. The way the history is written, it wasn't really well prepared for her. The electric blanket didn't work. So she arrives there, starts to teach, realizes one person teaching wouldn't do it, has a strategy. I'm going to start teaching women to teach. And she develops this whole community of educators. Buildings burned down in Oldenburg and they were rebuilt. Heroic. Mother Teresa built orphanages and all this stuff. A young woman, 23. Heroic efforts. Then the sisters knew they had to have a college to educate, and they started a junior college, and then a liberal arts college in 36, and then heroically they come during the Depression in 37 and buy this property and make a mansion in their college. And then in 2001, 2002, 2000, 2001, the school was basically on a financial basis bankrupt. We had more debt than we had assets. And they really didn't have a lot of money, but heroically they put $2 million in our bank account to stay afloat. And that's when this dummy shows up. You should go to places that are thriving, not that need resuscitation. And so Beth and I and our family and a whole bunch of good people got committed, and we decided to build a great Catholic university in this great American city. And then we said we'd rename it instead of Marian College, Marian University. Then we built a med school. That was a heroic undertaking. Then we said, well, we're going to have a real world-renowned educators college. We've been educating for 100 and all these years. So really, Mother Teresa is alive. These are heroic moves. And then we say, well, that's pretty neat. Let's build an engineering school. And then we say, well, we'll recreate the whole neighborhood, and we're involved in Ancilla, and we're involved in Nashville, Tennessee, and we have a St. Joe Earn and Learn College, and more. But the moments that have defined this university's character and propelled us forward and those that we serve are the moments when we have sacrificed self-interest and looked outward. And that's basically our presentation today. We are looking outward, and we're doing very well in the process. That's not my phone. The overarching, one of the things I'm just going to go through quickly here, Dr. Britt's going to do part of this presentation, is we're not announcing really big new initiatives or change in our strategy or mission or anything like that today. But there are really 6 things we want to hammer away on, and I'll explain why. The overarching commitment to be a distinctive Catholic university, a distinctive community, and focus on quality education. We want to continue to grow, to achieve scale. I'll explain why. We want to make timely responses to the needs of our students and society, looking outward, not inward, not in self-interest, but the other person's interest, and how that will bless us. It's consistent. We're going to be exemplary in the priority areas, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that we've chosen, medicine, education, etc. We're going to keep our fundraising up at a really high level to meet our needs, and where it makes sense, we're going to borrow money to build new buildings and keep moving forward. And finally, we're going to talk, and Dr. Inneking's going to talk, now you're always Dr. Inneking to me. Dr. Britt, I always do that up here. I think I did it so many years. He probably heard me way wherever he is today, to execute the programs at a high level very consistently. Before I start, I want to talk a little bit more about the challenges? Yeah, they're there. A little bit more about, let's level set, because things have continued to go a certain way in our country. Demographically, there's not as many 18-year-olds. We know that, right? We've been doing pretty well in that environment. But it's very interesting. In the last 10 years, the applications to public universities has increased by 9%. They're less expensive. The private universities over that time are down 7%. The public universities application pool then now over this time is 13% higher. 10% increase in applications from families in zip codes below the median income. First generation applicants the last 10 years have gone up 14%. Latino application growth has been 15% the last 10 years. Black or African American growth is 12%. Applications, again, from the lower income zip codes has increased. So we're in an environment, there's less students. The demographics are changing dramatically. In some of those demographics, don't paint with a broad brush, there's lower income and lower ability to pay. We're in an environment where we've made a commitment to the Latino community, a 20-some year commitment we've had much, much higher than average African American. and we've had real high percentages of Pell Grant students. That's very good, it's very courageous, it's very heroic, but it also is expensive. The other thing that's very clear is now it's gotten worse since I mentioned last time. 7 out of 10 Americans believe that higher ed's going the wrong direction. They believe it's too expensive, it's not even, so to speak, and they want change. And that is an environment that we work in. So the admissions trends too, I wanted to say this, Jessica could give this speech better than I, but I read the data, I stay up with it, it's part of my job. We see a great big increase in application pool. I think it's like 6 students average is applying to 6 universities now. So they've got 6 on the line. And they're waiting to see which one is the best, and probably cost is a factor. Do they really want me? Do I fit there? Do I blah, blah, blah. So when you see our application pool getting bigger, hallelujah. When you see deposits getting better, hallelujah. Until, and this, Dr. Anna King did say this, not you, Dr. Britt, until the seats are in the seats, you don't have a student. Okay, seats and seats. So we will have to work very hard in this new environment because students are shopping. Students be shopping. And that's fine, okay? There's a lot of opportunity in this. What we're finding, you know, the universities that are growing in the private sector are distinctive. And most of them are distinctively Christian or religious institutions. In other words, they didn't just have a label, but the generic secular college or university are struggling the very most, the privates. The big flagship publics are doing well. They're on TV with these $5 million quarterbacks, et cetera. They get a lot of free advertising. That's really not our business model, is it? So I know I should have practiced more. Anyway, the point of fact is, in all that mess, there's some really interesting data. These distinctively faith-filled colleges where students visit and fill the community and they see the teaching, and you know, public opinion thinks we're way off the rails and teaching bad values, etc. What do we do here? We're not about that. We teach about the dignity of the individual and stewardship and reconciliation and peace and justice and how the gospel gives us information on that. We don't proselytize or force people to think a certain way, but we try to live that. And frankly, when we get students here, we do pretty well because they feel it, they see it, they meet professors, faculty, and staff. So some of that public perception is actually an opportunity for us because we have a different story to tell. The other story we need to be better at telling, and I see Maggie and other communicators here, we all have to become good at it. A college education is still remarkably valuable in every way. Health outcomes, voting. Over your lifetime, you'll probably make at least $1 million more than people without a college degree. The other thing is, some people are going around, I heard it this morning on the news, college degrees just aren't worth, and they're not needed. So many people graduate from college don't have a job. Listen to this. Well, I won't tell you the whole statistic. This is from Georgetown Center for Career and Work, and it's very well known. They do a lot of great research. And this is interesting for Marian particularly. From 2024 to 2032, there'll be 611,000 teacher shortage in our country. We need a lot of teachers. Right now, there's a lot of teachers, especially in the poorest communities, that have unlicensed, uncertified, unprepared teachers. Here we come heroically to the rescue, right? There's about a shortage, they predicting a shortage of 362,000 nurses and nurse practitioners, and even more if you put in the primary care docs. Here we come, heroically rushing to the rescue. By the way, Dabo will like this. This recent report said there'll be 200,000 short on engineers. We need 200,000 new engineers more. Thank God for the Whitaker School of Engineering. Yes, there's challenges, but if I was going to be a higher educational institution in that milieu with all these kings coming down on us, I'd want to be where we're at. And we have actually some evidence to prove it's working pretty well. We've made some good choices together, and we're being distinctive, and we're being a quality operation, and today's really about taking it to the next level. It's the same kind of picture here. We have our pillars. Access and success, CLIPS is a big part of it. Commitment to 21st century scholars. This READ project in our neighborhood, it's a big part of this, and our faith in action. Our St. Joe Earn and Learn College, big commitment. What we're doing in Plymouth, MU Plymouth, our business school, getting people tremendous jobs and opportunities. Our online programs, doing very well. In STEM, again, the Wood College is a big commitment of ours. We're adding OT and PT, and they're moving along brilliantly, very well led. We appreciate that what's going on there. Whitaker's moving forward, keeps contributing a lot of great students and enrollment. Layton School of Nursing, and our whole science area is just very important. We're going to have to add labs and put an investment there. But all the programs we have are important, but some of our lead efforts where we wanted to grow are very timely and outward focused. In the Faith in Action, our Sondown program continues and actually expanding its national footprint, going into the med school. The Franciscan Leadership Institute, our philosophy and theology folks are very important as a Catholic University. The READ project, of course, I put it there, and in Access and Success. And the Fortune Institute is very important, and they have a big lecture by Yuval Levin, February 23rd. It'll be a big deal on campus, so you might want to be there. I'm going to miss it because the Lilly Endowment invited us to a meeting, and we normally don't miss those. Intellectual growth is great. We need the money. But anyway, hate to be a money grubber and president, but it's all in your interest. So we still look at our mission very seriously. Let's be a distinctly, our vision start with, we want to be a leadership institution. We teach this, trustworthy, healthy, inquisitive, skilled leaders. We need to be seen. One of the things, as outward focused institutions, we continue to hear, whether it be schools, businesses, churches, you name it, healthcare, nursing departments, we need people with leadership skills. A place like this, through our athletic department and so many other areas, we can teach so many essential elements of being an excellent leader. Our mission has 3 distinct parts. It just says, be a great Catholic university dedicated to excellence in learning. We're a learning enterprise. We have to do that. If we do that on a highly consistent basis in our teaching, in our research and scholarly activity, I told you about public opinion. Public opinion's pretty convinced we're not doing a lot at higher ed. It's a country club. Students don't go to class much. We don't expect much of them. They're not well prepared for the world. We need our students, and by the way, we'll retain students when we use cognitive learning science and break things up properly for all students of all different learning backgrounds. If we teach at a really, really high level and let students do research and exciting things, we will stand out from I know they're less expensive, but a great big public university has TAs. This is the average class size. They put some things on them and they leave. We're very much engaged with our students. We can distinguish ourselves in this area. We have to be very consistent with that. And then, of course, we know our values. I've already talked about them, starting with the dignity of each person. That's the kind of community we have to be. It stands apart in how we're treating people here. I think, there we go. The second thing I talked about is scale. There is no doubt, folks, a small college or university is in big trouble. You can find a few of them that are okay, but usually they have this $1 billion endowment that someone started years ago, and so it makes it possible to survive. But you have to be bigger. Okay? It's very, very important. How do we do it? Enrollment. Everybody's involved in enrollment. Okay? If you don't do that. The second thing, and we've got to do a much better job, and it's not easy, because we have large groups in our demographic makeup at the university that in other colleges are retaining at 50 and 40 and 60%. We want to hit 95. We're going to have to be exceptional. We're going to have to figure that out. It's going to take a lot of work. It's not an easy thing. It's a heroic work. Partnerships. We're going to have articulation agreements, even mergers, and other kind of big partnerships we're working on and hope to announce in late February, early March, another big deal in terms of partnerships. It'll bring us the scale we need. We have to be in generational education. Lindsay's doing a lot of that with the adult ed and online, multi-delivery, online, hybrid, our EDD program. We have to be able to deliver different ways so that different learners at different stages of life can fit in. And then program optimization. You can't have programs that are built and resourced for, I'll just make up a number, 100 students that has 60. You can't carry that. So when you're building scale, you've got to have things up to the resource invested. I thought I'd show you this. This is, by the way, from the accounting firm that does a lot of higher ed. And they took all the schools in Indiana, they took Notre Dame out, and they took Martin out. That was a fortuitous thing because they no longer exist. I'm not happy about that, I'm just telling you. So this is all the privates in Indiana. The median enrollment of the unhealthy institutions is at 1,000. The median enrollment of the healthy institutions is 3,200. When I started 20-some years ago, that was about 1,900. To be able to attract the talent and support and pay for what you need to perform at a high level, you need a lot of students contributing. Scale is essential, and it's only going to get more challenging. Luckily, we used to be about 960 students. Now we're in the upper part of that, and we continue to grow. That's our intention. But that's a third party telling us that. They study all their finances. Timely response to the needs. I've already talked about this a little bit. You have to look outward as a university. Any business does, any enterprise, and see what are the needs in the world. We put a marker down for the CLIPS, Educators College, health professions. I already gave you some of the statistics. There's a big need. Of course, that means you have to have a big science department, et cetera, to go along with it. Same with engineering. What are 3 big areas? We have to continue to look, those are 3 big examples. We have to continue to look outward to the needs out there, not what we need. Okay? That's how you're successful. And you have to do it a step ahead, like I've never played hockey, but, well, I played some baseball. The ball can't go past you, then swing, right? It just doesn't work. You have to anticipate where it's going to be, so we know what baseball's about. I already talked about the need for 611,000 nurses, teachers, 362,000 nurses, and 200,000 engineers. Let's continue to look outward. If we have a program that's successful, looking outward, is there more need? Multiply it, make it bigger, grow it. Exemplary status in certain areas. We've decided, now, sometimes I talk about this, deans and other faculty tell me, when you highlight certain areas, well, what about their area? Well, all areas are important, and actually, as you think forward, how do you engage in it? How are you a part of it? The Wood College of Medicine is something we want to continue to invest in, make it bigger, have it more influence. It's now accredited to be graduate medical education. It's a big part of our research agenda. That's very important. Connected with that is our St. Luke Pre-med program, that'll grow. Basically, kind of reflection of the gospel, right? Teacher, Jesus was a teacher, a healer, prayer, leader, so it matches up nice. The Educators College, the Whitzer School of Engineering, the San Damiano program, it's a national exemplar. We're going to keep pushing it. St. Luke Pre-Med, and the Fortune Institute. So we've got to have some programs that pull the whole place forward, enrollment-wide, brand, reputation. The other thing, that isn't the right deal there. That's not the right thing. It's a good thing, but it's not the right thing. I don't see it there. Something happened here. Oh, yeah, I'm one ahead of me. There I am. In addition to programs, there are certain things that we just want to be known for. There's a small number outside of the Ivies of private institutions that are R1 research institutions. We don't want that for a designation. We think our perspective, our faith, our sense of humanity and human flourishing needs to be in the space of research. It'll contribute to excellence in learning and our academics here on campus, our influence in the world. There's going to be a lot of work done around ethic and moral understanding of what to do in medicine, certainly business, certainly in education, and we want to be there with the research. Access and success. We want to be known as a place living up to our values. We don't think certain people ought to be left behind, do we? That's why we're involved in the READ project. That's why we've made a commitment like almost no other university in 21st century scholars. That's why we like to go into various communities, whether it be rural or Latino or Black African American groups or zip codes where they don't have a lot of money, and go ahead and recruit students there. Give them a shot. Make an investment. Change their life. Make society better. It's heroic. That's what we need to do. By the way, that's where the students are. So we just need to be known for that, and we can retain them and graduate them. Recruiting a student is not nearly the accomplishment as that day they graduate and get a job and come back, and I know they do that for you. I run in by accident and intentionally to our graduates, and I know where some of them came from, and to see what they're doing and their good jobs and their opportunity, it makes you very proud to be part of Marian. The faith dimension. We have to be known as an institution. Who else in the city is a faith-based college or university? If you can find one, then we'll have a competitor. Until then, just look in the mirror. It's us. We got to compete against ourselves and live up to that. Leadership. There again, we have to live up to it. The campus and neighborhood, I want to talk about that a little bit because of I mentioned Craig and his crew and so many people. We have a beautiful campus. That's why all the multimillionaires 110 years ago built mansions along this area. And across the street, we have the park with the walking paths. And now we're going to make a beautiful walking path to Reed and a bunch of new. We're going to keep building up the campus. It's a very special place. We have the Ecolab. We have a lot of opportunities to make this. Let's take good care of it, take pride in that, because people feel it when they're on campus. And that will continue to happen. I'm going to talk about finances a little bit and then give it over to Dr. Britt about execution here. We've had a kind of approach that's interesting. When we wanted to build the med school, we were way out over our skis and we started getting great big donations. Some of you were here or heard about it. Well, we had a choice to make. First of all, how big should you make the med school and how nice of a building it should be? Can we afford a nice terrazzo floor and beautiful architecture? And the nursing school was over in the basement, the garden level of Oldenburg Hall. It was St. Francis Hall at the time. So they were okay. They had about a third of the students they have now, or a fourth. But we said, what if we really built this unbelievable, beautiful building with art, really make a statement about medicine, put some labs in it, make it a little bigger than we need so we could grow someday, put best technology you can find, and bring the nursing school over and all their needs in these labs. What if we did that? Well, some people said, we can't afford it. Nice dream, Dan. We said, well, what if we borrowed the money? And then as the money comes in from the donors, we'll put it in the endowment, and then we'll get the endowment earnings, and then this beautiful building will attract more students, and everything will be, well, we convinced everybody that we could pass an economic sobriety test, and we did it. We did this thing we called, let's borrow to build, not put all our money in the ground, and let's put our money in investments, and that'll support, and we'll come out of the gate strong. We'll show a medical school that, wow, when people visit, it's really nice. These people are serious. It communicates something, and it helps attract faculty. And it helped us do it fast. If we had to wait 5 years for all the donations to come in, the med school would only be 6 or 7 years old instead of 12 years old or whatever. Or it's even more, I guess, come to think of it. So we did that, and it's worked pretty well. And we think going forward, we'll continue to do that where you can borrow money, but if the revenue is going to be enough, it makes sense, you can move fast. So soon, and we have some more money to raise, soon we'll be announcing the groundbreaking for this big addition for the Klipsch College and the med school and PTOT. I see my PTOT friends up there. And it's going to be a beautiful building. We're going to do it really well. We're going to do it, when are we supposed to open that? 27? Did we say, what'd you say? 28? See, I'm always trying to push him. But there's no way you can build it that fast, right? But you will see we have enough cash. We're going to move utility lines, and we're getting permits and soil drillings and all, and we really should launch that this summer, it looks like. Then this approach has helped us build our balance sheet. In other words, our assets available to run the place and to take care of the place. It helps us fund this financial aid for students who can't afford to be here. And it increases actually our case for support. I'm from Nebraska. You see that? Corn? Now, when you get a corn crop, you can just eat it all, right? Or you can stick some back and plant another crop. They call that don't eat your seed corn, because your seed corn is going to give you more. And that's what we've done around here then. On an annual, I just took a few years, but in 2002, our endowment was $2.9 million. Today, it's about 176. I know it's 175. I was trying to see if it increased today. But the fact of the matter is, every year when people donate to us, we don't spend it all. So in 2021, for instance, we put 10.4 away back in the endowment, plus earnings, and we took some out for financial aid for scholarships. In 2022, we put 5.6 in, 23, 7.6, 10.3, 16.4, 13.1, and next year we'll probably be around 15, because we know the donors, some of them don't want to put it in the building, they'd rather us put it in the endowment, so that's fine, but it'll help us pay for financial aid, etc. So what we're doing here, folks, is we're getting stronger crop every year because we don't eat it all or feed it to the cattle. We're putting it back in investments, and we're building our financial stability for now and the future. And so we are at 175 million. And so we keep growing that endowment. I think this year took about $5 million from the endowment to pay financial aid. That'll keep going up. I think next year it'll go up about $333,000. Because we're building it so fast and taking it out slow, you're going to turn around someday and we'll have, like the really healthy institutions that do research, you'll have $1 billion endowment, and we'll be able to do this. Net asset growth in 2009, that wasn't that long ago. We were around 36 million, if I remember right. Now I think we'll be 250 million by the end of the year. So that means the assets behind your enterprise. Think of it like your savings account and your retirement, on a personal level. So we are making tremendous progress, huh? A couple other things I'll show you. Did I go too far? Yeah. The accounting firm also gave me data on net tuition. We're a tuition-driven institution. Because we've been putting in graduate programs and increasing the value of our undergraduate, people are willing to pay for it. So you see the gray line are the private schools in Indiana, not including Notre Dame. In 2020, their net tuition was $14,369. It's now $12,850. How much prices have gone up? They're actually getting less. A lot of our friends in higher ed are deficit spending every year. This isn't my data. This is from the accounting firm. This shows your unrestricted operating margins, and you don't need to be an accounting major. This is very simple. The yellow line is Marian. So that's on an operating basis how much more money you took in than you spent on your operation. So those 20 and 21 are a little goofy because that was COVID money. They were sending us money from Washington, D.C. we didn't even ask for some days. But we gave, by the way, we gave most all of our money we received back to our students. A lot of institutions kind of shimmed their place, kept it open. You can see that in 21. But look in 20, higher ed, privates in Indiana lost money. We all had COVID money. 22, private in Indiana lost 1.5% on their operations. Healthy institutions, if you talk to national experts, you have to be a surplus of 2 to 4% to be viable. You know the private institutions in Indiana. Look what's happening to them. Losing money. 23, lost almost 5%. We were just shy of 2% gain. 2% loss. We spent a lot of money in engineering building that, so we kind of 0.4%, so it wasn't much. In 25, my point is I wanted to show you that we're not living in tall cotton, everything's perfect. But we're following business practices here in operation that put us in a position to be highly successful today and even more so in the future. Okay. We think the next step for us is consistency and excellence. So I was going to have Dr. Britt do that. Dr. Britt?
Okay. Good afternoon. It's good to see everybody. Fun things to talk about: execution, metrics. Okay. How do you like this slide? Which one do you think Marian is? One of the things that impresses me, and it really drew me to Marian University, was this scrappy personality that we have, this punching up a weight class. I've heard the president talk multiple times over the years about Marian consistently has punched up our weight class. You know, that David versus Goliath idea, right? There's something romantic about that. And, I wanted to find a picture that showed that image of punching up a weight class. After listening to the president's remarks today, I would encourage you to have a different perspective about Marian University and where we are today. I don't think that we should lose that scrappy personality. Again, that's one of the reasons why I'm here. I grew up in southwestern Pennsylvania. I literally grew up next to a steel mill. Played football in the backyard of that steel mill, right? That's, that fight, that energy, right? That get up, that hard work, that is something that is an outlier for Marian. So I don't want to lose that for us. But I would encourage all of us to have that different perspective based off of what we saw today in some of the data, that we are now that boxer on the left. We're in the weight class. Jonathan Lowry shared with the leadership team at one point that we are one of the fastest, if not the fastest university in the country to grow from a regional college to a national doctoral university. We're in the weight class. we're in the ring. You are part of that. So everything that we do and how we operate needs to recognize that perspective. We are one of 419 national doctoral research institutions on our way to an R1. From a metric standpoint and perspective, our systems, processes, accountability needs to catch up to that national doctoral university. This is a great institution. The culture that we have here, if you invite a family member or a faculty member, I met one of our new faculty members, I can assure you that their reaction to coming to Marian for the first time or for the first week is one of humility. We're a humble place, hospitality. It feels good to be here, right? And that's great. We've had that since 1851. We don't want to lose that. But I think our metrics, our ability to measure, needs to catch up. And that's what I'm encouraging all of us in the various spheres of influence that we have here to work together to have this next step in our chapter. A few of us went down to Lipscomb University in Nashville, Tennessee. Very similar to Marian. Faith-based institution in a thriving city. One of the things that I found, which was very interesting there, was they have experienced similar enrollment growth as Marian in the undergraduate institution. Their retention is 87%. The president has now given us a new goal of 95%, which is great. Those students deserve it, right? Those students deserve 95%. Our university can do it. It's interesting, again, perspective. And those of you who are with me at Lipscomb can agree to this. They are not happy with 87%. Their goal is to get to 93%. One of the things that they do, again, I found this interesting. Ray Stanley and I have talked about this a little bit. Lipscomb collects 180 data points on every single student. They collect information so minor, what we would consider minor. I considered it minor. I was shocked. They require weekly chapel at Lipscomb. So the students are required to go. They have their badge. They can scan their badge. They walk into their chapel. They know whether the student walking in the front door or the side door and how that impacts retention. Can you believe that? Walking through the front door, 2 big doors, walking in as a group. Walking in as a side door, you're isolated, you're individual. It's fascinating. I'm going to share some stories about metrics and our successes that we've had, and I'll also share where I think we need to continue to improve. I'll throw that down. Recognize this office? Is that your office? His office. Sometimes I think this is my office. Thanks to the enrollment team, in the last 5 years, Jessica, Luann, Patrick, the entire team, our marketing team, our undergraduate enrollment applications have more than doubled. It's more than doubled. Again, we're in the ring. This is actually the picture of our former financial aid director's office. I think they tried to get out of here so fast they lost their shoe. We've transitioned, I think we had 4 or 5 directors of undergraduate financial aid in the last 4 or 5 years. We have no systems. Everything was manual. Lots of paper. Chaos, right? Here's another picture. Transition from the old financial aid directors to our newer undergraduate financial aid director, Kristen Hand. So there's her hand right there. There's Kristen. That was her first day. I actually came in and said, Kristen, how are you doing? She's like, I'm fine. Again, old school, heavy paper. One of the things that I was concerned about and the team was concerned about is we had no monitoring system. We had no monitoring system for our undergraduate financial aid office. And I likened it to if we experience a tornado, we were not prepared with a monitoring system to tell us that a tornado is coming. Every year there is something different that happens. O'Bannon scholarships go down. Our financial aid challenges with disruptions of the FAFSA, right? There is a different issue every single year. But if without a monitoring system, you get buried. So that was Kristen. But luckily, Kristen stuck with it. So here's Kristen on the left, going home at night wondering what she signed up for. The systems that we had or we didn't have led to significant challenges at this university. We spent more in financial aid than what we could. We had compliance risks. We didn't have any compliance issues, but compliance risks. Through Kristen's leadership, Jessica, we had some outside counsel that came in and helped. You think about it. We doubled the number of applications, which means you double the number of financial aid packets that you have to send out to families. We did this, or now Kristen's group doing this, creating new systems, having everything in place, the training, the materials. We've done this without adding a single staff member. And the outcomes, now Kristen's on the right, she's a little, well, it depends on the time of year, but I think she's mostly happy, have helped us improve our net tuition revenue significantly. And for that, for Kristen and for our entire financial aid team, I would ask you to please stand and be recognized. Good job. Financial aid is hard, right? It is hard. Okay, here's the next example where we have seen success. A couple of years ago, Dr. Wright identified some challenges that we had on our COMLEX pass rates. And for those of you who aren't in the medical school, those are important tests for students to continue to matriculate through medical school and pass their licensure exams to become a doctor, a practicing physician. So, Dr. Wright, the faculty, the staff, they got together, and I heard Dr. Wright say this recently, where GPAs and MCAT scores weren't enough of the story. They had to do something different. So they worked together tirelessly to put together a different system to ensure that our students passed. And I'm proud to report, I mentioned it the other day at the faculty meeting, but I'm going to share it here. But through their hard work, look at those smiling faces. The average passage rate is 90% for our COMLEX scores nationally. And through our Wood College of Osteopathic Medicine, our scores this past test, 95%. So for COM, please stand. If you work in the College of Osteopathic Medicine, can you please stand? There you go. Excellent work. Okay, do you know what this picture is? Who knows what this picture is? What is this picture of? It's a cockpit, okay? A cockpit of a plane. Look at all those different instruments. You think about the world that we live in today here at this comprehensive university. It is impossible to measure one thing. I will challenge you that the most important thing for us as a university, the main thing, is student success. That's why we're here. Think about that image of flying an airplane, where you get in and you're on the tarmac, you fly from one place and you go to a destination. You think about the College of Arts and Sciences. Let's say the dean is the pilot, taking our students to a destination. That destination might be graduate school. Or the destination, if you're in the Klipsch Educators College, might be teaching. How do we ensure that we work together to monitor student success? How many people are involved in student success at this university? The president answered a question earlier about how many people were involved in enrollment. It's the same question on student success. All of us. Each and every one of us are involved in the student life and success of the students we serve. So how can we make sure that we are working together to create the systems to ensure that our planes are reaching their destinations? There are improvements needed for us, make no mistake. We are pleased with the progress that we have made over the years, but we are not satisfied with where we are. As a national doctoral university, in earlier years, our peak retention, it might be crazy to think of us getting to 95% when you saw the president's note up there. But we've had a peak a few years ago of 83% retention. In the last 5 years, we've bounced back and forth between 76 to 78. We have certain systems in place. Spark alerts, Spotlight survey. I would encourage you, if you're a faculty member here, to complete your Spotlight survey. There are a few days left. Our night quest, right? We have certain systems in place. We cannot wait to be perfect. We do need to improve our systems and metrics, but we need to use the ones that we have. So I would encourage you to continue to do that. Moving forward, you've heard of emotional intelligence. We've talked a lot recently about artificial intelligence. I'm going to introduce a new word or phrase that I'd like all of us to focus on. That's institutional intelligence. Institutional intelligence. As I mentioned, the Lipscomb example, 180 data points for a student to ensure that they are monitoring the students so that they can be successful to retain and graduate. We need to follow suit. The work that Ray Stanley's doing in creating the data lake, and many of you are involved with that. Lilly Endowment implemented this call for proposals for how artificial intelligence can impact colleges and universities, not only institutionally from an organization standpoint, how can we be better, but also with our faculty teaching and equipping the students to be ready to meet the demands of the future. How can we leverage the work that's being done to have this new institutional intelligence for Marian University? I also recognize through our Chief Academic Officer and our faculty the Learning Excellence in Learning Task Force. There's a lot of work happening. How can we make sure that those task forces and the work that's being done through Ray Stanley are being combined so that we can create a new metric and a new system to ensure that our students are reaching the destination? And why is that? I already showed a little bit of a picture. I heard this might be an Elsener grandchild. Is that right? I didn't realize that when I found the picture, but so this is our future. She will be a freshman in about 15 years, especially since she's an Elsener. But this is our future. Our world needs more Marian University graduates. This is our MU community. Each of you. I could have put any of a number of our pictures up there. Look at our dean. That's quite the picture. He's taking one for the team on Family Day. This is our MU community. Our future is extremely bright. Yes, we have to have a different system. Our systems have to catch up, and we're going to work on that together. It's not that we're doing things poorly. Okay, I don't want to come across as misleading. We're doing really good things here, but we need to take it to another level. I'm blessed to work with each and every one of you here for the students that we serve now and well into the future. Thank you.